open house meeting will begin shortly. Tuned. Our meeting will begin shortly. Stay tuned. The open house meeting will begin shortly. Stay tuned. The Kino to DeMoss-Petrie transmission line project open house meeting will begin shortly. Will begin shortly.
Experiencing, we understand that people are unable to hear as well as view the presentation. Just to note that we are recording this presentation and it will be available on the project website within the next few days, and you'll have the ability to ask questions until the last day of the line siting hearing. So please consider that, and we do sincerely apologize for these technical difficulties. It's not something that we can control at this point. So once again, my name is Eric Ratz. I'm here with Renee Darling and Ed Beck, and we are talking about the Kino to DeMoss-Petrie 138 kV transmission line project. We do have several ways in which you can ask questions. We'll be beginning the question and answer period in just a second. Just wanted to reemphasize that this project is very important to Tucson Electric Power to continue to provide safe, reliable power throughout the study area, as the existing system, as well as the presentation has demonstrated. It is a need in the study area. So moving on to the questions, we have a text message question from Dan and Sarah Howard. Pardon me?
Don't say last name.
Oh. Dan and Sarah, will the possibility of underground application of the wires be addressed during this meeting? I believe that we have addressed that. We'll be moving forward with a minimum of 3 overhead options in the CEC application. Potentially the added cost, whoop. Can you go back down? Potentially the added cost for going underground could be absorbed by Banner Medical Center, the University of Arizona, the City of Tucson. We would be open to a tax increase to support the cost of burying the lines between Grant and Broadway. We appreciate that, and it is noted, and we can continue to investigate that option. I believe if we could start at slide number 7 or 8. No, 8. There you go. So just wanted to go over the purpose and need again that we had shown. What we've got here are work requests within the study area. This is a small sample set, and this shows that it is not just the U of A and Banner that are driving the need for this project. Each one of those dots represents an increase in energy usage. This is from these representative of from 2008 up to current time frame. So in total, just in this small sample set, we have approximately, I believe it is 1,600 work orders that were required as a result of an increase in energy usage. So if we'll go on to the next question. According to TEP's data, its transmission lines do not regularly have outages. Given this fact and the fact that the new 138 kV Kino substation will be live any day now, why would the redundancy of a Kino to DeMoss-Petrie transmission line be an urgent issue to anyone that will be served transmission backbone for the city of Tucson? So a question from Jonathan. When will all questions be answered from this open house? not necessarily, well, we're responding to them now.
So we'll try to respond to all the questions this evening and have the written questions and answers up on the project webpage within 2 weeks.
Another question from Jonathan. How can you not fully understand undergrounding costs before presenting this open house? Why should the entire city pay for the undergrounding if they enjoy the benefits of it? The understanding the cost of would need a full design in order to understand the full scope of the cost. We're not exactly sure of any conflicts that could arise without doing a full design. Also, as I said, we're investigating the electrical characteristics of underground versus overhead, which could also have an impact to the overall cost of undergrounding versus overhead. In addition to operation and maintenance cost, TEP does not currently have any history of undergrounding transmission lines, so this would be a new venture. So we don't have a full understanding of it at this point. And why should the entire city pay for the underground? Enjoy the benefits of this? This project is...
Eric, I think that may have actually been, why shouldn't the entire city pay for undergrounding?
Why shouldn't the entire city pay for? Oh, yeah. The project is needed to serve the study area, not the entire city. So I'm not sure that the entire city would be benefiting from the project. The folks within the study area will be benefiting from the project.
So I'll take this one, Eric.
Pardon me?
I'll take this one.
Yep.
Stephen on Man Love Street asked, speaking of transparency, how did you advertise this meeting? I only heard about it from a neighbor. So everyone within the study area, over 40,000 different addresses, was sent a postcard notifying them of the meeting. If you did not receive it, you can email the project email address and provide your address, and I will double check the mailing list to see if there's an error in the mailing list. It was also advertised in the Arizona Daily Star. We also posted for a week, was it a week or 2 weeks, on Facebook, and I think that was it. That's how we noticed for the meeting.
So maybe we should check the address list to make sure he's included.
Yeah, I'll need his
Yeah.
address.
So if you would provide your address, make sure that we don't miss you on future mailings. Text from Jonathan, can those needing the extra power, U of A and the big apartment complexes, pay for this upgrade? As I spoke to earlier and had shown on that slide, that small sample set, there were approximately 1,600 upgrades required from 2008 to current date that resulted from an increase in energy usage. So breaker box being upgraded from 100 amp to 200 amp, or just a service line to a house needed to be replaced, or new residences within the area. It is not only the U of A and the big apartment complexes, but the overall study area that is contributing to the need for the project. Exactly where is the power to be generated and what distance from West University area? TEP has several locations in their portfolio. So the power to be generated could be from, the power is going to flow on the system where the need demands it. So it could be local generation, or it could be external generation imported to supply power for this project. And what distance from West University area, if that is for the transmission line, that hasn't been determined yet. What's that?
Sorry.
As no routes have been approved to this date.
I think, Eric, that's all one question. Exactly where is the power to be generated and what distance from the West University area?
Okay.
And probably the farthest in the foreseeable future for energy generation will be our Oso Grande Wind project, which is on the far eastern edge of New Mexico. And that will be a large part of our renewable portfolio, and that energy will be coming in to serve all customers, including the West University area. So that's probably the furthest distance, but as you had mentioned, Eric, we have generation all over the state. So in the Phoenix area, around the Tucson area, up in Springerville, Arizona, and it's all mixed together and delivered to the customer. So.
Thank you, Ed. Text from Cindy. So moving down the middle of Pueblo Gardens in the median, that is, pardon me?
I think to the extent she's asking, are we going through the middle of Pueblo Gardens? And there is one route option that's along Campbell that is in the Pueblo Gardens area, but we're not going down the median there because the city was objected to that. Renee?
So Route 2 is on Campbell, and it is in the median between the north and south
Lines, and if they present an electrical safety issue for birds, do they present a safety issue? I'm going to defer to Ed on this one.
Sure. TEP, first of all, power lines can be an issue for birds, generally not at the transmission voltage level, because the clearances away between wire and the ground, which is the hazard to the birds, is much greater. TEP works with the U of A to protect birds through our raptor protection program. And we install a lot of bird guarding equipment on all new distribution facilities. So if you look around town at the distribution facilities, you'll see new, effectively like a rubber boot up on the end, there specifically to protect birds. And further, if you see a nest site or have concern about safety for birds, please call us at 520-623-7711 or Arizona Game and Fish. Their number 520-628-5376, extension 4446. And there will be a response to your concern. And TEP is very interested in the safety of our raptors and raptor protection.
Thank you, Ed.
So Jonathan with Iron Horse asked, what quality of life measures do you take into account specific public comments that were being received and try to address them to the extent we can?
To
Yes.
get back to you on that question. The response will be posted on the project webpage. And the next one's you, Renee.
Sorry.
Keep them going.
So Dan from Sam Hughes asked, how much advance notice will TEP provide the substation that actually has to be notified about the project? And it requires one public meeting prior to filing of the special exception land use permit application. So there is no requirement like we notice the entire study area. It's just those immediately surrounding the substation. But we will be sure to give notice to the neighborhood associations in and adjacent to the substation so that they can get word out in their newsletters as soon as we are aware of the date of both the public meeting as well as the hearing before the zoning examiner. And we don't anticipate that that is going to happen in the public meeting or the application is going to happen until after the CEC decision. So it's some time away.
And I'll
Want me to take that one here?
I'll pass this to Ed.
Okay. We received a text, and it states, of the 6 routes that remain, 2 use the Vine Avenue Green Corridor from Lester to Grant. This is a small residential street in stark contrast to the other routes that are entirely on arterial streets. How will your options to the ACC reflect this great disparity in the routes? Well, during our process with the ACC, we will show them on maps as well as with visual aids where these routes are and where they are relative to neighborhoods and houses and what type of streets they are on. So we will do our best to make sure that committee is aware of the differences between the routes and what aspects relative to the roads each route is on.
UA North Substation, and from there it does go through the alleyway, the existing alleyway where the existing subtransmission is, and then north on Park. So it goes both on Campbell and Park, from Kino to the UA substation on Campbell, and then from UA substation to DeMoss-Petrie through Park. And the next question, we received a text. Did your Phase 3 analysis take into account the large difference in the width of the streets of the proposed routes? For example, Campbell Ave is 2 to 3 times wider than Vine, so would have greater reduced impact on nearby residents than Vine. How is this included in your proposed 6 routes? Surely they can't be presented as equally good options.
So I can answer that. The width of roads is considered in a number of the different criteria. It was looked at in the historic properties analysis by type of road, residential versus gateway versus ancillary. It's also looked at in the constructability analysis, so whether the right-of-way width, the width to allow for sidewalks and the facilities, so that's related into the score in the constructability analysis. And it's also considered in the visual impact assessment, where the more residential streets had greater impact than it would on the residential ancillary streets. So yeah, it's in a number of different areas that it's considered.
And maybe I'll add at this point that one of the processes we use when we go to the ACC is what we call a virtual flyover of the route, in which case we typically use Google Earth as kind of a backdrop or a background, and we superimpose our line for each of the routes onto that map set. And then we create a video that we actually show to the siting committee so they can see up close and personal what those routes look like. So they will be able to see the proximity to houses if they are closer on one route than another. And that's been very helpful for the committee as they do their deliberations and consider what routes to approve. So that's another aspect of how that information gets across to the siting committee.
We want to add to that the tour?
Well, historically, prior to COVID, we, in addition to the Google Flyover, did an actual on-the-ground bus tour of the routes, do an enhanced Google tour for the committee to see.
Thank you. We do have a text. Coronado Heights is bordered on one side by Glen Road. Glen Road is identified on your project map as a linked segment. Is TEP planning on the further use of Glen Road for the Kino to DeMoss-Petrie transmission line project? That link has been eliminated. I believe that was early on in the process, and we have, so no, that is no longer an option. And I believe at this time that is all of